Franco Prussian War. The first important term when trying to understand this war is the Burschenschaften. They were a group of German college students that came together to form the Brotherhood, or Burschenschaften in German. They believed in very diverse approach to patriotic subjects, ultimately leading to their outlaw by Metternich in 1819 with the Carlsbad Decrees. Another important thing was the Zollvereins, which essentially made the German states start acting united. With the dissolution of trade barriers between states, this was one of the first things to lessen the divide of the German states. On the top is a picture of William I, who was Emperor of Prussia and created the Second Reich, or Second German Empire, which was the unification of Germany. Lastly for this slide is Otto von Bismarck on the bottom. His intelligence and plans for the war ultimately is what allowed Prussia to unite the German states. Though he was only minister-president, then chancellor during his lifetime, he still had the power he needed to do what he wanted. The humiliation of Olmütz. Prussia at this time was trying to unite northern Germany under their rule, but when Frederick William IV rejected the crown offered to him, the entire plan was ruined. Frederick William IV thought that a crown should only be given through inheritance, leading him to reject this crown. Prussia then decides to leave the Erfurt Union because they were humiliated that their plan backfired on them. Later by Bismarck, he used this as a way to cause friction between the German states and Austria. Blood-and-Eisen. This speech by Otto von Bismarck took place in September of 1862. Meaning blood and iron, he told the German states that unity would only come by war and that talking about it would solve zero problems. Bismarck was very specific about picking his battles and required he must only have one opponent and that his opponent was isolated. The German-Danish War and the Austro-Prussian War. The left picture is a picture from the German-Danish War in 1864. The German-Danish War started with the invasion of Denmark by Bismarck and the help of Austria. He got the Austrians on this side in order to gain more territory. At the end of the war, Schleswig became Prussian by the Gastein Convention. During the Austro-Prussian War, Austria tried to take Schleswig from the Prussians, ultimately causing Bismarck to invade Holstein. The Prussians were victorious in the Battle of Königgrätz, allowing them to gain control of most of the northern German states because of the Peace of Prague. This included Schleswig, which had just been won over, and Holstein. The North German Confederation. The North German Confederation was formed by Russia after the Peace of Prague. This led to a period called the Misery of Austria, which got its name from the fact that Austria was now a junior power to Russia. In this slide, this picture was online, and I think it was important to include because it shows a map of the newly united German states under Prussia, in red. It also includes Baden, Bavaria, Württemberg, and Hessen, which decided to remain independent, but yet they still had military alliances with Prussia. The Spanish Succession. In 1868, when the Spanish kicked their Queen Isabella off the throne, there was no heir, eventually causing the Franco-Prussian War between France and Prussia. Prussia decided to pick their candidate for the throne in 1870 to be Prince Leopold on the right, who was a Hohenzollern, or part of the Prussian royal family. Prussia did this on purpose because they knew France could not handle Prussian leadership on both sides. Napoleon III of France insisted that Prussia take their candidate back and never be suggested again. The King of Prussia, King William I, feared a French war, so he agreed. Ems Dispatch. The Ems Dispatch was a meeting between French and Prussian negotiators to avoid war. At least that was what the French thought. Bismarck thought something different. Once peace was made between the two sides, Bismarck changed the words in the telegrams in order to offend both sides. This was a necessity for Bismarck because it would be the only thing to officially unite Germany by causing war. On the left is a political cartoon showing both sides fighting over the crown. The right is one of the changed telegrams. Napoleon III declares war. Napoleon III declares war on Prussia on July 19, 1870, and invaded the Rhineland. Napoleon III's initiation of war is very important because that is what Bismarck had been planning to happen since the beginning. With France going out of their way to come fight Prussia outside of the French territory, it gives many advantages to Prussia, which are necessary because of the French outnumbering them 4-1 in soldiers. Battles. Though there were many battles, these are the three biggest and most important ones. In the Battle of Mars-la-Tour, the Prussians were outnumbered 4-1, but with quick thinking and smart battle tactics, they won anyways. This became a major theme in all of the battles that took place. Next was the Battle of Gravelotte, which was the largest battle during the Franco Prussian War. The Prussians again dominated with incredible odds. Lastly was the Battle of Sedan-Metz, where Napoleon III was surrounded and captured by the Prussians. The French army retreated back to Sedan, forcing him to surrender on September 2nd of 1870, ending the Second Empire. French versus Prussian weapons and battle tactics. The most important gun was the Chassepot rifle for the French because of their speed. The use of this weapon jump-started a whole new style of war with guns. They also used the mitrailleuse, or a heavy cannon-looking gun that fired the grape shot, which could destroy many people at once. This was detrimental for the French because it allowed the Prussians to attack quickly without the French being able to react in time from the minimal mobility of the mitrailleuse. The Prussians used the Dreyse needle gun and Krupp artillery, which was inferior to the incredible French guns. However, the fact that they were all steel from the Krupp artillery surpassed the French weapons. The Prussians were so successful because they attacked instead of waiting to be attacked, a much more reasonable idea for an army 1/4 the size of the French's. The Third Republic and Siege of Paris. To deal with war, Paris had to form a new government called the Third Republic. This government denied Bismarck's demand for 2 cities, Alsace and Lorraine. Knowing that the French army was being demolished, Paris locked up their city for protection when the Prussians arrived, ultimately backfiring heavily. The Prussian army surrounded the city until the starving city was forced to surrender. The siege lasted from September 19, 1870 to January 28, 1871. The Treaty of Frankfurt. At the end of the war with a Prussian victory, Prussia was given the city of Strasbourg-Metz, Alsace, and most of Lorraine. France was also being required to pay off Prussia with 5 billion francs. The Prussians made France try to sign the Treaty of Frankfurt in the Hall of Mirrors of Versailles, one of the most beautiful and important cities in France. This treaty was signed on May 10, 1871, and William I was declared as Emperor of the German Reich/Empire. They called him Kaiser, meaning Caesar, to claim the mantle of Rome. Timeline of events. First was the humiliation of Olmütz in November 29, 1850, Button-Eisen speech, September 1852, the German-Danish War, 1864, the Austro-Prussian War, 1866, North German Confederation, 1867, Spanish Revolt against Isabella, 1868, M's Dispatch, 1870, France declares war in July 19, 1870, Battle of Wissembourg, August 4, 1870, Battle of Spickeren, August 5, 1870, Battle of Worth, August 6, 1870, Battle of Mars-la-Tour, August 16, 1870, Battle of Gravelotte, August 18, 1870, Battle of Sedan-Metz, capture of Napoleon III, September 1st through 2nd, 1870, the French surrender, September 2nd, 1870, Siege of Paris, September 19, 1870, through January 28, 1871, and the Treaty of Frankfurt, May 10, 1871.